Go on.
What you were saying. So I missed the start. Did you say that if, for example, there's a nation that attacks a Christian nation,
Yeah.
we can defend ourselves?
Yes.
And if we lose,
Yes.
Christians then have to submit to a ruler that takes over. Is that what you said? I wasn't sure.
I didn't say that, but that's what I would say. Because you see, when I was talking about the people who invaded England, they were Christians, they were Protestants. So that was a Christian monarch. But imagine this: Adolf Hitler came very close to destroying the British Army in Europe. Just by the grace of God, it was saved and crossed the Channel to live to fight another again. You're too far away from me sometimes to hear you.
We speak in German today if you want.
Possibly, but anyway, well, much of our language is German anyway. But nonetheless, if Hitler had destroyed the British Army, then the British government would have had to make peace. And this was 1940, so a year before the Americans joined the war. So that would mean the French resistance would have had no legitimacy, in my view, because they had legitimacy while Britain remained free. But once the victor, even someone as anti-Catholic as Hitler, comes to power in the whole of Western Europe and Central Europe and parts of Eastern Europe, then those who inhabit that zone must give obedience. And if there was a successful invasion of Britain, then the British would have to give obedience. You can't simply engage in long-term guerrilla war with no hope of victory. It contradicts St. Augustine's just war theory, that there must be a prospect of victory. So I chose to go with that rather than simply say, oh, what if it was a Muslim or a Hindu invader? I took someone who was universally regarded as one of the nastiest pieces of work in the world to illustrate the point. You obey the emperor.
One example of like a situation is in the Crusades, for example, they went and liberated Spain from Islam.
Yes.
So like if that battle did take place, the many battles didn't take place during the Crusades, Spain would be a Muslim country.
Okay.
Also, South America would be a Muslim country.
If Muslim ships would then sail, because don't forget, these were ships funded by Queen Isabella, and they actually, and Columbus was an Italian, so there was a Catholic enterprise. Whether Muslims would have gone that way, hard to tell. It may have been another Catholic nation, we just don't know. But stay with Spain, right? Yeah, because you made a point there. Firstly, it may well have been a Muslim peninsula. Quite possibly. However, when the Muslims conquered Spain in 711, well, the peninsula, from 711 onwards, and they made rapid advance, they didn't conquer all of it. Left a small area in the north where King Pelayo was able to launch a counterattack. And so one could say that the Islamic victory was not complete.
It's like anything. They got to have a base, and then they start to expand.
Yeah, but if the victory had been complete, then you can argue that, well, it would be contradicting Catholic just war theory to wage war against the Muslim invaders. But these were invaders, and they hadn't established sovereignty over the land.
I think even if they did, it's good. Even if they did establish sovereignty, it would have been good for us to fight and take it. So that's my.
Fair enough. I'm just talking about principles of what I think are the proper principles of, even when you've got a force which is hostile to Catholicism and would bring, in fact, darkness over the world, say it be the Hitler regime or the Muslim regimes in the various parts of the Spanish Peninsula.
Could you just explain what you mean by just reform, just so I have
Yeah. It's like, particularly Augustine, but it's been developed by other Catholics. It's basically, you've got to have a reason to go to war, because Jesus Christ is the Prince of Peace. And so, unlike in pagan times, you can't just say, right, I fancy to expand my power. Or I just fancy to defend myself because I've been attacked. I can do what I like because I've been attacked. There've got to be principles you operate under, because now we're Christians and we have to understand our ways, how we're to behave in terms of our violent behaviour in the context of Jesus. And so that formulates a just war theory. And it really comes down to, you only wage war when there's a really good cause to do so. And you can only wage it proportionately. And if you can't wage it with reasonable prospects of success, you don't wage it. You surrender. It sounds logical to you, just then. Okay, right.
It just depends on the nation, because, for example, some reason, it doesn't matter how much ruler establishes control, they will never submit to it. They're just going to keep fighting, even if they don't. They will say it's like diminishing returns.
Yeah.